Hello and welcome to Why Outcomes Matter, a programme partnership between the Institute of Asset Management and ITN Business. New infrastructure, such as railway networks, green homes and new major roads, play a key role in fuelling economic growth and improving lives. With such great investment comes a great responsibility to deliver infrastructure that demonstrates real value for the people who use those railways, homes or roads for many years to come. In this programme, we'll be looking at organisations and projects who are not only committed to delivering on time and on budget, but more importantly, to benefiting society. I'm pleased to welcome Christian Roberts, who is the President of the Institute of Asset Management. Hello to you, Christian. Could you, first of all, expand on your thoughts on the opportunities and challenges for organisations taking an outcomes approach to planning and constructing new infrastructure, starting with what outcomes are crucial for governments and why?
I think maybe we start with the why, and the why is infrastructure is the fabric of society. It is absolutely critical for sustaining human life. It's critical for economic development and growth, and it's critical for national security. So we really need to focus, and governments need to focus on those key aspects. In terms of the what outcomes, there's a strong tangential link between infrastructure and the ability of a government to provide basic needs to communities. And so, we've seen those surveys from across the globe, we've seen those benchmarks. And I think it's important to recognize that where we've made investments in infrastructure, that's where we've seen huge impacts on a government's ability to address things like poverty, social justice, etc. So those are some of the real reasons why outcomes matter.
Christian, why does an outcomes-based approach matter to critical infrastructure owners?
Well, today, Duncan, we're seeing on a greater level than we've seen before a convergence of asset classes. And by that, I mean the ability of the outcome of one asset class is really having an impact on another asset class. You take the transition within the transportation space to electric vehicles as an example. We've traditionally thought about transportation, concrete and metal, roads and bridges. We've now got to start thinking about the digital backbone and the energy backbone that can drive that energy transition. So from an outcomes-based perspective, it really is now about not just thinking about that asset in isolation, thinking about how we develop that asset, but also thinking about the impact of other assets and how we need to make sure that those other asset classes have the ability to deliver to the extent needed.
Let me ask you, what are the challenges when planning new national infrastructure, particularly right now when the economy is in turmoil, and how does asset management aid that planning?
Some huge challenges right now. We've got, and it's on a global scale. I mean, when you look today, the resource shortages, the supply chain shortages, you've got contractors who are saying they're running at capacity. We've got equipment shortages. This is a significant challenge for our governments and for our industry at large. You combine that with the perfect storm of the unprecedented infrastructure investment that we're seeing, and it is a challenge. For us, the asset management play here is really around helping to prioritize where we make those investments. It's really around identifying where we should be making investments, not just where we've got funding available and maybe a project that was thought through. So not just shovel-ready projects, but shovel-worthy projects.
How are outcomes changing the way corporations measure value, and why is this changing?
A couple of reasons, Duncan. The first is you've got a shift in consumer demand. So today, 80% of consumers are really thinking about how they buy products and services from organizations which have a common belief system to their own. In addition to that, the corporate regulators across the globe are now setting out requirements for environmental, social, and corporate governance reporting. Those two factors really do come into play here. From an asset management point of view, the focus around asset management has traditionally been around driving bottom line revenue. So thinking about how we drive operational efficiency and productivity. The real opportunity now is the ability to influence top-line revenue by better positioning the brand position in the marketplace, by enabling those organizations to do what they say they're going to do, but do it in a way that achieves net zero carbon goals, that helps them to achieve some of those social equity goals that they're aiming for. Infrastructure, fleet facilities, infrastructure plays a big role in all of that, and there is now a recognition that the C-suite needs to be thinking more carefully about their investments in infrastructure.
Christian, really interesting to get your perspective. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Investments that embrace environmental and social responsibility play a critical role in enabling growth and development, both locally and nationally. As part of Northern's investment in the railway in Leeds, the company hopes to foster job opportunities and achieve a positive impact in the community.
Just 3 miles from Leeds city centre. The Neville Hill Train Care Centre is a strategically important asset at the heart of Northern's network. Day and night, a committed team of staff maintain the trains millions of us rely on. Originally built for the steam age, it's now the base for a fleet of diesels and electrics, but needs new investment to make it fit for the future.
So it's a huge opportunity in terms of what we're doing here at Neville Hill to support Northern and the wider network. This site is only 60% electrified. We need to maximise the amount of electric trains in the future. That will really give us a really reduced carbon footprint. So we maximise the amount of electric trains on the site. We'll also potentially have battery trains on the site as well. But I mean, the big thing for us is a reduction in diesel emissions over the next few years, which from an environmental point of view has a really important factor for our customers, but also for our people working here.
As part of the proposed investment, all of the area behind me will be completely reconfigured. Out go the old porter cabins and in come brand new state-of-the-art facilities. Revitalising the Train Care Centre in this way offers a more sustainable solution and provides better value for money for the taxpayer.
We've got a very exciting partnership going on with Network Rail. Network Rail and Northern Trains are working very closely together on the investment of Neville Hill Train Care Centre. The asset strategy and the asset management system is a joint partnership that we're working in together, and we've both got a very excited vision of what we can turn Neville Hill into.
But investing in Neville Hill's people is just as important. Bradley Caslin is part of the train cleaning team and the third generation of his family to work at Neville Hill. His dad is one of the drivers.
My father worked as a train driver on the depot. He got me a job interview. So within a week of having an interview, I started cleaning. That was my first job on the depot. It's different every day, and the opportunity's there for you.
And it is there, yeah.
And especially for the area as well, because it gives people around the area employment as well. So we're going in the right direction, thankfully.
And not just the local area, because what's good for Neville Hill is good for Leeds and West Yorkshire as a whole, and supports regional regeneration.
A reliable railway is imperative, I think, for the continued success of Leeds. The city really relies on its rail network. We have a really good working relationship with Northern and other providers, and it's critical really for our understanding of the city, and hearing about the investment, the significant investment that's going on at the moment, particularly at Neville Hill. I think that will make all the difference.
We don't want to just be the best train care centre around. We want to be an engineering centre of excellence. We want to involve universities, we want to involve other stakeholders. We want to absolutely look at every single piece of technology out there. We want to look at training, we want to look at virtual training. We want people to be coming to us and say, wow, let's go and look at Neville Hill.
And by using new investment to create a modernised environment, also creating new opportunities for residential communities, educational communities, the local supply chain, and for the people who work here.
delivering the right facilities for our people. That is so important for me. The investment in this site is unique in the UK. We're going to take a site that's got a lot of history, a lot of legacy, and we can create a site that is a real strong site for Leeds and Yorkshire in the future. We can really improve the way we work and operate the facility. That's what excites me.
Recent extreme hurricane seasons along the US Gulf Coast caused widespread power outages and damage to the region. 1898 & Co. is leveraging a long history of engineering and consulting expertise to deliver long-term sustainability and resilience to their energy clients. We visited Entergy, a utility with millions of customers along the Gulf Coast, to learn more.
The 2020 and 2021 hurricane seasons are one's residents along the U.S. Gulf Coast won't soon forget. Within an 8-week span in 2020, Louisiana and Texas were pummeled by 3 massive hurricanes, a near Category 5, a Category 2, then a Category 3. A year later, another Category 4 devastated the region. The storms brought torrential rainfall and storm surge, while sustained winds of up to 150 miles per hour shredded buildings and blew out power lines.
We had Hurricane Laura. We had 14,000 utility poles that were damaged, and we had 616,000 customers who were without service.
The storms caused tens of billions of dollars in total damage to the communities across the region and left dozens dead. For utility provider Entergy, which has 3 million customers across 4 states, the storms in 2020 and 2021 marked a turning point.
What we realized at Entergy was that we need to accelerate our plan for resiliency.
Scientific studies indicate that severe weather, like the destructive Cat 4 hurricanes that have barreled through Texas and Louisiana in recent years, is likely to become more frequent and more intense in coming years. Stronger hurricanes will be far more costly, which is why it's becoming even more crucial for companies to focus on resilience, making the right capital investments now to be best placed to face the challenges of the future.
What do you think about the asset data that we sent over?
To help accelerate that resilience, Entergy has teamed up with 1898 & Co., the business and technology consultancy arm of Burns and McDonnell. 1898 & Co. has developed a cloud-based software called Asset Lens to help its clients prioritize capital expenditure. The technology aggregates dispersed data on a company's critical assets, enriches it with analytics and cleansers to give clients a complete view of their portfolio. With that information, companies like Entergy can make proactive, data-driven decisions on how to best utilize often limited resources.
We said we want to make this customer focused, so we recommend trying to put together a storm resilience plan that helps reduce customer outages. When customers are out, helps reduce the amount of time that they're out, and also lowers the amount of cost that you experience in storm restoration.
The process involved analyzing geospatial information to better understand potential hazards in the terrain surrounding their infrastructure, while also incorporating historical storm data and future projections to make sure the most vulnerable equipment is replaced first and is fortified to meet even the most extreme weather.
We're looking at trying to help them understand the benefits of trying to make a portfolio that's holistic, that helps you think about the future, long-term especially, and say, all right, we're not making decisions just for today, we're making decisions for 30, 40 years. I mean, the kind of equipment that we're putting out there today is supposed to last 40, 50 years, maybe even longer.
I'm really excited about this project.
Asset Lens has helped Entergy identify roughly $15 billion in resiliency building projects, including the hardening of more than 32,000 miles of distribution and transmission lines. Some of the structures now being installed can withstand winds of 175 miles per hour.
That data guided us to prioritizing assets for which assets would need to be hardened and how that would provide benefit to customers. We're looking at building back better, making sure that we balance our resiliency efforts with the needs of the customers to have affordable, safe, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure.
Asset Lens is not just for the utility sector. It's a technology that can be used across industries, including in the food and consumer product space, as well as manufacturing. 1898 & Co. uniquely positioned to help clients solve some of their most complex challenges.
Most organizations focus on business consulting or technology consulting. Most of them focus on business or engineering or digital. We actually combine all of those pieces because we believe that change requires people, process, and technology to ultimately achieve these big, audacious goals that are going on in the industry right now.
Using data to make the best investment decisions to be prepared for whatever dark clouds form in the future.
When it comes to infrastructure, organisations must think about the benefits to the user, the overall purpose, and how the project will add value to the community before commencing a project. In this report, we find out why this approach is so critical.
Building infrastructure that is sustainable, resilient, and supports social equity for communities means focusing on outcomes, adding long-term value to the fabric of society, according to the IAM's president.
We shouldn't just be thinking about building it because we can. We should be thinking about building it because it provides a purpose. It provides some degree, some level of value to a community. And that's where we start to talk about shovel-worthy, not shovel-ready. It really needs to have that purpose within a community. And that purpose needs to be measured in a way that's equitable to a community. What we need to think about today is the resilience, the ability of that infrastructure to withstand different levels of climate action over the next decade, 2 decades. We need to be thinking longer term.
Supporting asset management on the global stage, the IAM is working with the United Nations to help them deliver equity of access to services such as healthcare, water, education, and the internet.
Here at UN City in Copenhagen is the global headquarters of UNOPS, the Office for Project Services that specialises in infrastructure and procurement for the United Nations, where focusing on outcomes very much drives the development of asset management capability.
If we don't think about the future in terms of population growth, in terms of the demographics, then we may build something now that will not serve populations in 10, 20 years. And we cannot afford to constantly rebuild infrastructure. So we have to consider the 3 dimensions of social, environmental, and economic factors now and into the future.
One way that UNOPS is using infrastructure to achieve a societal outcome is in Pakistan, where only 2% of police trainees have been female. But by asking women what they want in a new police training college, societal change is coming.
We've brought in their ideas. What is it that women need in the day-to-day accommodations of a police training college? And that is now actually attracting more female candidates for the police force, and that will have a knock-on effect of women being more open to come and report crimes, and hopefully over time will reduce domestic violence in Pakistan as well.
This focus on societal outcomes requires partnerships across the public and private sectors. In his role at tech industry leader Microsoft, Jeremy Goldberg brings with him a wealth of infrastructure development experience from his time in the public sector, including the NYCX project driven by the New York City Mayor's Office.
In New York City, we led an effort called NYCX, which was utilizing the public space, the public realm, city streets, or a place called Governor's Island to test out pervasive Wi-Fi technology. Using the city environment as a test lab for the problem solving and the areas where we know New Yorkers in that context expect more, not only from their government and the social services, but the ways that industry can kind of lean in and support from a solutioning perspective, improvements around electric vehicle charging or internet connectivity or cybersecurity for small businesses.
Designing infrastructure to sustain human life, economic growth, and national security means planning with a vision, creating a future-ready built environment that supports equitable societies.
Unseen, undetected faults in damaged underground power cables can cause objects like streetlights, manhole covers, footpaths and even roads to become energised with electrical voltages. Osmosis Power Survey mobile detection system surveys the underground electricity network and detects faults, heading off both public danger and costly energy leakages.
Electrical distribution networks are complex and interdependent systems, and safety and reliability are paramount. But below-ground infrastructure poses a particular kind of risk, as hazards can remain unseen. And at any time, contact voltage could energize structures above ground, leaking power, as well as bringing potential danger to anyone touching them.
Awareness of this hidden risk is not the problem, detection is. And that's where the Osmos Power Survey technology really comes into play. And tonight we're going out to find some cable leaks.
We begin our journey as darkness falls in what's known as a Mobile Asset Assessment Vehicle, or MAV for short. It's a purpose-built field detector designed to locate low-level electrical fields that emanate on the surfaces of structures. And it's a sensitive, accurate, and non-invasive way to locate faults.
Sean, that sounds quite significant.
That is a significant peak. As you go through, you can see all the different assets that are around here. There's not a whole lot that are above ground. So it could be coming from the ground. We just don't know. So that's why we'll pull over and we'll do an investigation.
The first job for the team is to put the necessary traffic safeguards in place. And having established a qualified Earth reference, Sean is now on the hunt for any energized objects.
Hey Marcus, looks like I found a hit.
So Sean, what have you found?
So we found 53 volts in the asphalt right here.
And how significant a find is that?
Very significant. You can even feel the heat from the asphalt when you're testing it. You can feel it right in the ground.
So you can even feel the heat. What do you need to do now?
Now we will mark this up and we will call it into our dispatch center.
Working with Princeton University in New Jersey, research found that the magnitude of contact voltage losses like these could be as high as 590 gigawatt hours across the UK every year, the equivalent to the annual energy consumption of 184,000 homes.
It's been a fascinating night, hasn't it?
It has, and it's not untypical.
Jeremy Wright led this research and told me detecting leaks early can bring both safety and environmental benefits.
The cable faults that we typically see can go from 1 to 3 years before they become a nuisance to customers, and in that time they can generate significant amounts of CO2, and a typical fault can be 38 tonnes per year, which is enough to fill 129 double-decker buses.
Osmos is already operating in 75 cities in North America, as well as 12 countries across the world, and has supported utility companies to find 250,000 energized structures over more than 15 years.
You can have these hidden dangers, things that are energized, things that people and their pets can step on, come in contact with, and cause a shock. So it's really important to have a proactive program to go out and find these before they become dangerous. Certainly every system where we've scanned and looked, we always find things. There is no perfect system out there that is immune from these.
Back on the street, Sean has discovered an unidentified cabinet energized with more than 50 volts. It's close to a school, and it's a reminder of the risk this silent danger could pose. Osmos's exclusive power survey technology is the first and only scanning system designed to detect such faults, helping to minimize risks to the public and maintain a system's strength and resilience for utilities and their customers.
In 2014, in a small town on the south coast of Devon, a major storm left one of the main railway lines connecting Devon and Cornwall to the rest of the country out of action. Since then, BAM and Network Rail have been working in collaboration to use innovative engineering to repair the seawall as sustainably and with as little impact on the local community as possible.
It was a storm that left a lasting impact on the town of Dawlish. A night of strong winds and huge waves had washed away a section of the seawall to leave the railway line suspended in mid-air. The job to rebuild and strengthen the defences here would be complex and ambitious.
There's probably no other project in the country where you've got the sea on one side, a railway and then a town. Just getting things onto the project has been tricky. We've had to specially design our access routes, bespoke trailers. All the pieces of precast that we've got on the site have been sized just to bring them underneath the railway. And then from kind of the large excavators and pieces of plant that we've got on site, we have to bring them in by boat. The concrete itself, we've got to pump on this particular phase. The longest pump is 180 metres. Not many other projects are doing that type of kind of pump distance in the environment that we're doing. So the biggest problem has been logistics. And then you throw the sea into that as well, where every single shift you come in and the sea's potentially dumped 1,000 tonnes of sand on top of the work that you were doing the other day. It just becomes a day-to-day fight really against nature.
BAM's use of innovative engineering has also seen this self-propelling jack-up barge brought in to deliver piling work safely on the shore side. It's known as the Wave Walker for its crab-like movement, and it's the first time it's been used in a railway project.
In terms of the projects you're involved in, I guess this may not be the biggest, but it's certainly one of the most complex.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's you can see the environment that we're having to work in as well. But
John Wilkinson is the Chief Operating Officer for BAM in the UK and Ireland. And he told me the company prides itself on bringing collaboration, innovation and sustainability to every project it undertakes.
These types of projects are not done very often in the UK. So it's only by bringing that intelligence across our supply chain, designers working very, very closely with our client Network Rail, that we can come up with a solution that is going to protect this coastal town for years to come. I think the other side of this is actually, quite uniquely being innovative around our solutions. And that's not just about the materials that we use, but it is about how we size those materials so that we can work from the beach or we can work with the wave walker. And then the third part around sustainability, life cycle asset is all about quality of construction, ease of maintenance, and hopefully a lack of intrusion into the structure through its design life.
Even on a moderately windy day, the power of the waves is clearly visible. But this new seawall is designed to protect the station and the town from the worst that the weather can throw at it for the next 100 years.
And building resilience to climate change and rising sea levels is a key priority for Network Rail.
We need to build structures here, particularly in this environment, that are robust enough to cope with the weather. And the new structures we've put in got much better drainage, they're much stronger. The platform we're standing on now was previously a wooden structure. This one is a lot more robust. BAM have introduced low carbon concrete here, which has helped to reduce the impact of this project. It also helps efficiencies in projects if people are actually working together properly, which they have done here as far as I'm concerned.
The railway through Dawlish and the town itself are better protected now the new, bigger seawall is nearing completion. It's a major infrastructure improvement that will benefit local communities, the environment, and the wider economy for generations to come.
Achieving net zero is a key focus across the world to combat climate change, and the UK is utilising cutting-edge frameworks to do so. To see tangible change, this must be facilitated by energy companies making strategic investment in their network assets. By following the principles of optimising cost, risk and performance, UK Power Networks is aiming to ensure nobody is left behind in the transition to net zero.
Energy. It makes our world go round, it powers our lives and takes us where we need to go. UK Power Networks is the distribution network operator for electricity covering London, South East England and the east of England. It takes the electricity from where it's generated to where it's needed, when it's needed.
We're here to keep the lights on and we're here to facilitate net zero and ensure that our customers are best served.
Lynn MacDonald is a line manager in the Smart Grid Development team at UK Power Networks. It's her job to find innovative ways of using existing electricity services and infrastructure and achieve our climate goals.
And to deliver net zero at lowest cost, we must move away from that mindset and traditional view to build and invest in just infrastructure networks. We need to move away from that as a default position. So at UK Power Networks, we are taking a smart approach to asset management, building out new technologies, capabilities and data services.
Then what is smart asset management?
Our asset management strategy is to maximise the utilisation of the network first, and that's through network visibility. So we're rolling out sensors in our low voltage network where we're seeing the highest growth of low carbon technologies. We're then also using flexibility and market-based solutions. So rather than building out assets, we're going out to the market and asking for customers to provide services where they can either bring up their loads or bring it down so we can manage within network peaks. And ultimately, once we've exhausted all these smart solutions, then we would build asset infrastructure through a one-touch approach.
By using flexible networks and a smart asset management approach, cost, risk and performance are optimised to generate stakeholder value. It's an adaptable, data-driven approach that utilises area-specific knowledge, and this approach suits significant collaboration. Waterloo Bus Garage. Here, Go Ahead runs a fleet of EV buses on London's busy bus routes. They learned lessons from building the power infrastructure here, and working together with UK Power Networks, they improved their power management at the second garage they electrified at Camberwell.
I asked for a 2 meg supply to go in for the first 15 to 20 buses. It was a bit too much, but we knew that garage is 250 buses, so we're going to do it later on. When we first got the price back, it was astronomical. The point of connection was so far away, but actually UKPN came back and said, have you thought about time capacity? Didn't understand what that was. Time capacity being the fact that I could have 1.5 all day long and 2 at night, which is when I'm charging my buses, made perfect sense. I don't use much of it during the day, so that saves us a fortune bringing that connection from across the road rather than 2 miles away.
Waterloo Bus Garage has left this sign up here as a bit of history because, of course, the fleet they have here now is almost completely silent. It's an indicator of how much things have changed and where we're headed, from noisy and dirty to quiet and much, much cleaner. The electrical vehicle revolution is coming, and it's going to radically change how we consume electricity. Sotiris Georgiopoulos is UK Power Networks' head of smart networks. He thinks demand is heading only in one direction.
UK Power Networks is at the center of the net zero transition. The forecast for our region over the next 5 years, we forecast to go from approximately now 350,000 electric vehicles in our streets to almost 3 million electric vehicles. So we need to make sure that we have sufficient capacity, sufficient infrastructure to meet that need at the lowest possible cost for all of us.
By acting smart, Sotiris says we manage this transition in an environmentally conscious and economical way.
We are going to see much greater use of technology, we're going to see much greater use of data, and we're going to see much greater use of consumer participation. We call it flexibility today, but taken to 2030, 2035, 2040, hopefully that's the way we interact with the energy system. And by taking the actions, incentivized actions, we are able to make sure that the overall system remains at the lowest possible cost.
UK Power Networks, keeping the lights on, achieving net zero, and generating value for its stakeholders everywhere.
Many thanks for watching Why Outcomes Matter. I hope you have enjoyed the programme. All of the content is available on the Institute of Asset Management website. The details are on screen now. From all of us here, thank you for watching and goodbye.